including West Virginia. And of course, Baylor had a historic year last year, so it's ironic that that's the first opponent, and also that it's homecoming. And so I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to see a game in the stadium, and very excited to see your football team play. I think you've already distinguished themselves as a force to be reckoned with, and clearly you've got one of the premier athletes in all of college football in Geno Smith, and I expect that we'll have a terrific football game tomorrow. So with that, let me open it up for your questions. A media group with no questions.
Are you eager to see what the atmosphere is like? I know at times West Virginia's had a reputation being fairly rowdy. Curious what's traveled to Dallas and your ears, and you're looking forward to seeing what it's like here tomorrow.
Well, I love college football. I love college football game days, and I like seeing new venues and all stadiums are the same. They look a lot better full than they do when they're empty, even if they look good empty. And so this place has a reputation for being a very difficult place to play, and I'm sure that fact is not lost on Baylor. And it's hard to play a good team in a difficult place to play, and so yes, I'm looking forward to seeing it, experiencing it. And I'm looking forward to watching a good football game. I've been on campus for 35 years, so I seldom have gone to a football stadium where I didn't live and die with the outcome with my team. And very fortunately, as Oliver said, I enjoyed a good 6 years at Stanford, but he can take a little bit of credit for the kind of 6-year period I had, because his son was certainly a big part of why we had the success we had.
How important has it been for you guys to continue to come? I mean, you've been here in Morgantown. I know you've only been in the office since like June or something like that, but you've already been here a couple of times. I know you've been going around with the Big 12, but some of your representatives have been here in Morgantown as well. It seems like the Big 12 is making a very clear effort to show your guys' faces around here a lot and be visible.
Well, as a new member, I was here in July to participate in the celebration that represented the commencement of West Virginia's participation in the league, and I did likewise with TCU a day before, and so that was obviously a special trip. Ed Stewart from my staff, who manages the football enterprise, was here a couple of weeks ago, and I've gotten to all 10 institutions over the last 4 weeks. And a couple of them I've gone to multiple times, and I expect that I'll be back here again. I'm going to be at Austin next week, so I'll have a chance to see WVU play again next week. And so through a combination of catching teams on the road and catching them at their home venues, I'm going to try and get to every campus for a home game before the end of the season. But once I get through the month of October, it's going to be mostly driven by who's still playing well, and given the quality of the football team at this university, I expect I'll have occasion to come back late in the season.
Bob, you got the team stuff out of the champion goal, or whatever you want to call it, seems to be on track, getting all of that stuff done. And expansion doesn't seem to be a terribly hot topic right now. What is your agenda now? What do you do now to go about, other than just running day-to-day dealings in the conference? What's on your agenda as far as things to do?
Well, it's a great question, and one that I've actually contemplated a little bit. I've put a plan of work together that includes a variety of relatively mundane activities within the conference office. But one of the things that has been evident, I guess, in the first 3 months is the agenda hasn't been my own. I had the television process kind of, I landed right in the middle of that. The BCS process relative to the playoff is still in full bloom, and we've made a lot of progress on it, but we're still spending a great deal of time on it. And I guess my staff is spending some time on it, but most of it is my personal engagement in it. The Champions Bowl, we have a concept and a framework, and we're moving ahead on it, but that's what I was doing yesterday. I was in Charlotte and had meetings with the SEC, both commissioners, both managers of football, and a couple of other associate commissioners and legal staff, just going through the articulation agreements that will govern the bowl, going through the process to consider the 5 candidate cities that we have, the candidate bowls that we have, and talking about how we go about interfacing the television deal for the Champions Bowl with the contracts that we have within the SEC and the Big 12. So, there's the items you mentioned have been big items, and they're going to continue to be big items for a while. The TV contract, while the grant of rights is finished and the 2 contracts with Fox and ESPN are signed and executed, there are hundreds of details about activation that we still are working on, and until we settle in on those, there are a lot of decisions to be made. These are documents that run into the hundreds of pages, and so there's a whole lot of flesh there that we have to make sure we understand and have a consistent framework for implementation. So we're sort of in the transitional period between what I was flopped in the middle of and getting those things put to bed. Beyond that, we're spending a lot of time thinking about branding for the conference, how we go about articulating and proliferating the messages and visions of the conference. We have some other opportunities that we are working on. We are talking to a couple of conferences about a basketball, preseason basketball alliance competition of one sort or another that we could participate in. We have spent some time talking recently about whether or not any form of affiliate membership should, either for our members or including our members outside, would make any sense. So there's no imperative for that, but we're spending some time talking about it. And in large measure, the agenda going forward is all the things that you mentioned, including bringing those early things to closure. But we need to be about bringing opportunities to our members. That's what the conference office does. We manage the enterprise, but we also should be business development officers on behalf of our universities. And sometimes that's TV contracts. We're going to be spending a lot of time on our bowl alignment, because with the Champions Bowl and the playoff, our bowl alignment is starting in 14 is going to be very different than it is currently in all likelihood. So I'm not having any trouble staying busy, that's for sure.
You mentioned fleshing out the details of the TV contract that you've already signed. And one of the things that I have failed to grasp, and no one has been able to give me an explanation, is the process by which Fox and ESPN, at least this year, are afforded their opportunities to take games. They just say that Fox will have an enhanced selection of games this year. How is that process this year, and how will it change next year? Everything so far, virtually everything so far, has been Fox telecasts. I'm not sure